Tonight, Brian and I are going to discuss all the stories about how we began this podcast on tonight's episode of Back to Paranormal.
Well, welcome to the show. And we are broadcasting live out of our facility, the Back to Paranormal facility in Spionk, New York. And no, we're not in Spionk. But we're in New York, though.
Yeah.
And anyway, Marjorie did a wonderful lead-in. That's the first time you've done a lead-in for us.
No,
I
don't know why. You do such a good job that I.
You do a great. You did a great job. Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening.
I'm butchering the Queen's English. Sorry.
Good evening.
How you doing?
My love.
I'm Brian Mitchell, and this is Marjorie.
Hello.
And so we have to apologize. We've been apologizing to everybody lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we recorded this wonderful episode last week. It was really
it was such a good episode.
It was really we were very proud of it.
It was one of the longest.
One of the longest episodes we've done. And then I went to retrieve the file, and for some reason, we only recorded 2 minutes of it. So we lost, and it wasn't any error that we did recording, but there was something at the end where basically it kind of finalizes the file, and basically we take that and we combine it with some different like music and stuff like that, and basically it becomes a show. But it was probably. It wasn't your fault. It was my fault.
No, and I did I'm sorry, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I'm going to toot.
You toot.
I did the opener. I did the opener last week, and I was like, wow, I actually did it. Now, tonight, I got myself all psyched out.
Yeah, no, you did a great job tonight. But anyway, we had a series of trying to retrieve this file. And it was no go, and we kept pushing it off a day and another day and another day.
Just big time technical difficulties.
And I kind of just threw my hands up in the air. So I am officially apologizing.
I'm apologizing too.
Yeah,
we are apologizing.
Yeah, and we have a set time to do this show, and because the day kind of the week kind of gets full up, so we set aside time to do it. It's basically we realized we're going to have to re-record the show, and that wasn't to be last week. A lot of different things happened, and we just couldn't get around to it. So we figured, okay, it will be next week then. So
it was a fun show.
It was a fun show.
Let's see if we can recapture.
We're going to recapture
the magic.
the magic. What are we drinking tonight?
Well, I kind of have a little bit of a sore throat, so I'm sorry, guys. I hope this isn't too boring for you, but I have big old cups of chamomile tea.
Chamomile tea.
With honey.
Who is this from? This is
Bonnamelli, the Italian chamomile flower tea. That's my favorite.
Yes.
And Cobble Hill Apiary honey from Brooklyn.
Oh, very neat.
Yeah.
Very neat. So anyway, we should probably have a sip. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Okay. It's a warming beverage.
It's a warming beverage.
Here we go.
Boop.
Boop. With no countdown.
No countdown.
Okay. Here. I'll do it now. 1, 2, 3.
Boom. Boop.
There we go. Yep.
Love
All right.
you.
Here we go. That was for Adrian, of course.
Of course.
It's actually quite good.
That is yummy, yummy tea.
Yeah.
I like the grassy.
The grassy quality.
The grassy notes.
The natural.
Mm-hmm.
The natural. And the honey adds something to that.
Mm-hmm.
It does. So anyway, really, really delicious. So this week on the show, we're talking about how we got around to doing this show.
Origin story.
It's the origin story. And for me, it goes way back. And I've always said, I never would think about ever doing a show or a movie or a cartoon or something like that about paranormal stuff. And sure enough, we're doing this show, and we'll talk about how that came about.
Although when you were a little boy, Casper was like one of your absolute favorites.
Yeah, my whole life, I've had weird experiences from an out-of-body experience when I was really young. And I really loved Casper the Friendly Ghost when I was a kid. And there used to be an amusement park here called Palisades Amusement Park. And it was in near Fort Lee, New Jersey. And so they had a Casper Ghostland ride in it. Yeah. But yeah, no, I really liked the character when I was young. And I ended up working on the revival of the show years later. I was one of the key storyboard people on that show. But I don't know what it was, but I think it was because I had that out of body experience when I was 3. And this out of body experience, I was sleeping and I found myself looking at myself from a weird angle at the top of the room. And I always wondered if that was a real thing, but it kind of stayed with me all these years. And finally, we had Jennifer Ann on, and I had talked with her a couple of years before we had her on, and she actually came out. She blurted out. She said, "Oh, in that out-of-body experience you had when you were 3, that really happened."
Amazing.
So, yeah. So really,
She's amazing.
she's amazing. But that was. Maybe my first introduction.
But you were with another presence.
There was another
weren't
presence.
Alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I found out later that I was basically number 3.
Yeah.
And my parents wanted a girl and a boy. And my mother suffered a miscarriage before me. And so if that child was born, I probably wouldn't have been. But I tend to believe now that the presence that was with me was
that little boy
that got miscarried, the soul, spirit of him. So that's what I believe. But anyway, I've had other experiences through my life, and which kind of came to some sort of culmination where I decided, and I've been thinking about this for a long time, to put together a book of all these different things, and which kind of led to this. But we'll talk about that more later. So you've had
I do tend to think, just because of what I've experienced in my family, that when a child comes into the world through scary kind of circumstances, or where their
trauma.
birth. I mean, all birth is, all birth is a blessing, right? But when they come through, their existence is a result of some trauma, or in spite of trauma,
right?
And that their connection with that next place is a lot stronger. I've always kind of felt that.
Right.
The veil is thinner between the worlds.
Yeah, I believe that, because when I was really young, I felt like I was more spiritual, and I don't know how to explain why, but I just felt like I was more in tune with something else, and what happens? I think because of the realities of life. You go to school, you deal with other kids. Some kids are bullies and stuff like that, and it takes
Tell me about it.
Takes the innocence away, like really quick. Because you come in and you're expecting people to be nice and good and respectful, and some people just not like that, and that combined with school, and you have to do certain things or whatever, you got to study, and I think a lot of this gets beaten out of you.
The controls.
Yeah. I think especially when you're told you can't do things.
No, your sweetheart has not been beaten out of you.
Well, thank you.
Not whatsoever.
Yeah, but you've had things happen when
I
you were
have.
young.
Oh, I absolutely have.
Right.
When I was small, I mean, just this constant nagging, relentless nagging feeling of deja vu. And it was always dismissed as, oh, that's just deja vu. You're just having deja vu,
Right.
Marjorie. And it was very dismissed.
How do they explain deja vu to you?
Well, my mother and father, they spoke French, and
Right.
I'm not French, but they had languages,
Mm-hmm.
and they just translated it
Right.
from the French.
Right.
And I would like, well, what does that mean? They're like, you already seen, you've already viewed something,
Right.
is what it means.
Right.
And I was like, okay, but I was to my core so many times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've been here. I know I've done this. I've said this. I recognize this.
Right.
This feeling, like there were so many things that
Mm-hmm.
I felt that hearkened to some other place and some other time. And then I would very often, and particularly in like my teenage years and 20s, I had these dreams that I was in these places that I just knew, like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
It was from some other existence. These were places I had never seen in this life.
Right. Right.
In this body ever.
Interesting.
But that I knew the terrain and I knew the souls that were around me, and I loved being there. And then when I would wake up from these place dreams, I would just be beside myself.
You'd be disappointed.
I would be so devastated.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to go, and I would try so hard to fall back asleep to get back to that loving existence that felt so specific and so real. I could smell it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would just want to cry.
Yeah. I think when we sleep, I think a lot of people believe that you can actually go to like a different existence. Like you can travel, your soul can travel. Mm-hmm. And I guess the thing is they call it the silver cord.
Oh yeah,
which is basically you're still attached to your body, but it's like a silver cord that basically extends, and so they had something like a reference of this in Hercules, the Disney animated movie.
Oh, that's right.
Where the witches
fate.
they are cutting the soul's silver cord, which would symbolize that the person died, and but. I don't know if it's so much a silver cord or if it's just a symbolism that you're still attached to your body by taking this
precious
flying
connection that you have.
Yeah, I used to get flying dreams.
Life.
And I think everybody's had them. And it's basically you're soaring above the trees, and it's kind of a magical little thing. And I haven't had one in a long, long time, but I remember having it and just feeling like I could go anywhere. And I wonder if that is your soul basically actually doing that.
Soaring.
Yeah.
Soaring through.
Soaring through, yeah.
I don't know if I was actually traveling to this other place and time, or whether it was a memory from another
lifetime.
from another life that I had. I mean,
you believe it. I guess you believe in reincarnation, right?
I absolutely do. I was very often on the fence about it,
right?
Until my nephew came into this world,
right?
Yeah.
Which said something to you.
He said something, and when
How old was he when this happened?
well, first of all, he entered the world under tremendously traumatic circumstances. It's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle.
Yeah.
That he is alive and as beautiful as he is.
Right.
And just so it was so scary. And his sister passed away under those circumstances, but he existed, and not only did he exist, but he thrived. And I remember when I first went to go see him in the NICU, and I actually showed you the picture the other day.
Yes.
And he was so premature that he had no control over his eyes or like anything. They were just googly. They were googly eyes.
Googly eyes, yeah.
Bouncing all over. And
like,
I know
like
that
cookie,
I've told...
Like Cookie Monster.
Like Cookie, exactly
yeah.
like Cookie Monster.
Yeah.
And he is a Cookie Monster.
Right.
And I know that I've told our listeners this story before, but I just think it was such confirmation of what I had always kind of suspected since I was a small girl. I was a child.
Wow.
And he just stared at me.
So it's basically
this little baby.
They're googly, and then you're there
in the isolette, and I showed up, and his hands suddenly formed in like a prayer, like his hands went together right under his lips, like prayer, and he stared and stared and stared. And my mother took a picture of it, and the nurses were aghast.
Amazed.
They were like, because they are working so hard to keep these babies, going.
Yeah.
And the nurses were standing around, and they were like, he has never looked at anything for that long.
Wow.
At all. He's not able to fix his gaze.
But he was with you.
But he fixed his gaze, and he looked into my eyes. And then as he grew, there were times when, things would be quiet, and he would just suddenly look at me.
How old was he?
Oh, this was his whole youth until he was about 5.
Right.
He would suddenly just look across the room and stare into my eyes. And it was almost like he would go into this trance. And he was so confused, and I think it was frustrating for him to understand what was going on in his mind.
Right.
That he would shake it off, and he would sort of like just shut his eyes and shake it off.
Right.
And I would say, "Are you okay?" And he would say, "Yeah." Just the sweetest little boy.
Right.
And finally one day we were playing in a garden one day, and he did it. He stopped playing, and he looked at me, and he stared.
Right.
And so I came over, and I said I didn't want to lead him. I didn't want to put any thoughts or anything. I wanted a pure response. And I said, sweetheart, sometimes you look at me, and I just wonder what's going on in your mind when you get lost in that moment. Do you think maybe you knew me from before or something? And he was so affirmative. He said yes.
Yeah.
And it took him a while. He was so young, and he was uncomfortable with this because it didn't make any sense, and he didn't have all the language to fully articulate it.
Right.
And he gave it a couple tries to articulate it, and then he shook his head and he as if to say that's not the full story.
Right.
And he finally honed it down, and he said, even before, he said, I've always known I knew you from before.
Right.
Even when I was just a little baby. And then he said, no, when I was just a little baby, I knew I had known you from before I was a little baby.
Wow. It's pretty amazing.
And the fact that it meant so much to him to try and express it to its full meaning.
Right.
And I knew, I just because I felt that way too when I was little.
Yeah.
And then a year later, and he completely forgot all about it.
Wow.
Which is fine. I mean, I want him to live in this world and enjoy this life and be a happy little kid.
Yeah.
And
I've
But
always,
yeah, he definitely confirmed.
yeah,
And it was a very interesting little discussion.
yeah, wow, wow,
Yeah.
out of the mouth of babes.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was really quite something.
yeah. There were things that happen with kids, like my daughter had she had a thing. I had a picture of Walt Disney with his autograph in a room in the house, and she was sleeping, and she came in, and she looked up at the picture, and she said, I saw him." I said, "You saw him?" I said, "Where?" She said, "In my room." I've never said this before.
You've never told
Never
this
said
story
this before.
before.
And I'm a big Disney fan growing up, and I'm still a big Disney fan. The classic stuff. And but anyway, she goes. So I said, "You saw him in your room?" And she said, "Yeah, above my bed." And I was like, "Oh." And I said to her, "What was he doing?" She said, he was just there." And I guess she wasn't spooked by it or anything. And she was saying it matter of factly. She had to be like 6.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
I didn't know what to make of that, because she would not lie about stuff. She would not make up stuff like that.
No.
Yeah, no, it's just kind of a weird thing. But I believe that when you're a kid, I think you're privy to certain things, and like I said, as you maybe hit 7 or 8, I think a lot of that stuff is kind of like, it becomes less than when you're younger. You're more receptive to it. I think you had it right there
With my nephew.
your nephew.
Yeah. I think then the first, and I actually never told anybody because I was too afraid of being shut down, and which I was a lot.
Yeah. Well, a lot of kids are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I lived in a very controlling environment, and that's how I grew up, and loving
Yeah.
home, but
Yeah.
very, very controlled, and
Right.
I've always wondered about this, but when I was really little, I was lying in my bed, and I had my bedroom door open because, I was a little kid, and I
Yeah.
wanted to, have the door open.
Sure.
So if I needed, mommy, I could call and stuff like that.
I think a lot of kids are fearful. They're
Yeah, I
fearful
didn't
of the
want
dark.
being closed
Yeah.
in and
Right.
in the dark. And,
Right.
and I was lying in this little old youth bed. And so I guess maybe I was like, 4, maybe.
Yeah.
And I looked out and into the hallway, and there was this very white, wispy,
Figure.
very white, wispy thing, like the kind of thing that we saw on Mount Misery Road.
Yes.
Those wispy figures.
Yes.
But this was just standing there, and
Wow.
human size. And I looked and I looked, and I was like thinking, what is that? In the back of my mind, I just had this sense that it was my late grandmother, and I never remembered meeting her
Right.
because she passed away when I was quite little.
Right.
But I always just had this sense that she was standing there watching over me as I lay in that bed.
Right.
And she wasn't, particularly tall, considering how big the people in my family are.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
maybe like only 5, 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because, like, my dad was huge. Poor woman. Oh, my God.
So at age 4.
Yeah, I saw this wispy thing just standing right in the doorway, almost
Yeah.
kind of in the hallway.
And immediately your mind went
And
to.
I was thinking, I was just like, is that a spirit? Is that a ghost? And it didn't get scared at all.
Right.
And I just thought, I have this sense that that belongs to my father's mother.
Yeah.
And many, many years later, my mom was telling me something about right before she passed away.
Yeah.
I was still crawling. I couldn't talk yet, but I was crawling, and she was very, very ill. And my mom said, "You were the sweetest little baby. You were, just about this age where you just started to crawl and, making tracks." And your grandmother was very ill and said, "I need to go and lie down and maybe I'll take a little nap."
Yeah.
And because she was so short, she chose that little bed, that same little bed, and to lie down in. And she came out after her nap, and she told my mother that, like, halfway through her nap, she just felt this tiny little hand reach up and slide into her hand and just hold her hand while she was sleeping. And it was me. I was the one who did it. I crawled all the way down the hallway by myself.
Wow.
And I sat myself right next to her while she slept. And my mom said, "I guess you perceived that she just needed a little
Yeah.
a little love,
Yeah. Wow.
a little comfort."
Wow.
And so
Yeah.
and then I guess when she came out, I crawled down the hallway all the way after her, and she was like, "She's holding my hand the whole time."
Yeah.
So that I was in that bed, and that is what, now when my mom told me that story, that feeling of that's got to be my grandmother.
Yeah. I mean,
Made much more sense to me.
for you to perceive that at age 4.
And I didn't realize that I had even met this woman.
Right.
I didn't know about that story
Right.
until I was like in my 40s.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like the same way with me with the out of body experience.
You needed that someone to kind of put those pieces together.
No, I always thought that it was an out of body experience, and I think things that stay with you over time that make that much of an impression on you are things that really did happen. But to get the verification from somebody that knew nothing about me,
Yeah.
was pretty amazing. And I think at age 4 to have that perception that I think this is a spirit that is, and thinking that it's your grandmother, to put that all together, because I think that's pretty fantastic,
Yeah.
I mean,
and I always suspected that, but it never really made sense why that was my feeling until I heard that story about
years later.
Her sleeping in that bed very, very close to the end of her life, and her little moment of love with me.
When you okay, so I'm going to quiz you about some of this stuff, because when did you? I mean, okay, you had this experience, but maybe a year after, 2 years later, you tend to put these things out of your head as, well, maybe that wasn't really anything, or
yeah, I mean, I'm open to that being a possibility.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't explain my gut.
Your gut feeling
about that, because I've always just had that gut feeling.
Right.
But yes, I'm certainly open to saying, well, maybe, maybe it was just the reflection of the light on the
maybe it was a figment of my imagination. It was an undigested piece of beef. No, I don't know.
But then when I started to experience the spirit that was in the summer house where I grew up.
Right.
And spent summer times.
Well, how early was that?
Oh,
how old were you?
I guess I was maybe 6 when we got that house.
Right. So did you have an experience at 6 or 7? Or
see, the thing is, I didn't have any experiences. I always had the feeling about that one staircase
Right.
that's in the back of the house, that like a staff
That
stair.
everybody had the feeling about.
But everybody else would say,
Yeah.
there's something going on the back. Like I don't go
Right.
take those stairs. Or guests would come and they would be like, is there like something going on? And so many people would come. I only ever had happy feelings about that house. There was never any fear. My brothers kind of avoided those
staircase. Wow, interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people. It became like a place where people would just sort of park their garden boots and dirty sneakers on all of these stairs.
Wow.
And yeah, but I never actually had an experience, but you had an experience, and I had another friend who had a very, very similar experience.
Yeah, I was with you at the house, and you were sleeping, and I was sleeping too, and I woke up, and it was kind of half in, half out, but all of a sudden I heard what sounded like somebody walking up the stairs with almost like boots or shoes on, and hitting not just the step, but hitting the riser. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like clump, clump, like that. Bump, bump.
Bum, bum.
Bump, bump. Bump, bump. Bump, bump. Up the stairs. And I would say after about the third step, I was wide awake listening to this. Just like, what the heck is going on?
Who's coming?
Because nobody else was in the house. And I was more fascinated by it than frightened by it.
Yeah.
Because it did not, I didn't think there was an intruder in the house.
No, that night we locked that place down like Fort Knox.
Yeah. But it was just so odd. And I at that point I was trying to wake you up and say, Marjorie, like that. And then it stopped. Mm-hmm. So it was really very bizarre. But
years before.
So you've always been open. Just going back, you've always been open after some of the experiences you had when you were young.
Absolutely.
And so you were keeping that door wide open, or at least part of the way open.
And years before you heard those footsteps, I had another friend visit.
Yeah.
And I was sleeping, sound asleep.
Right.
And I don't even remember this happening, but he heard the footsteps.
Right.
He heard the footsteps, and he heard those things, and the same thing that you heard. And I never told you about that story.
Okay.
Until after
I told you.
You told me about your situation, and he came to wake me to be like, do you hear the stairs? There's someone on the stairs. There's someone on the stairs.
Right.
And I don't even recall saying this out loud. I said, "Oh, he's here."
Wow. That's pretty creepy.
Yeah, it was really creepy. And then he freaked out.
Yeah.
He just freaked. He was like, the way you said it was so weird. The way I say it is it creeps me out. Yeah. I don't have any recollection of saying that.
Right.
Or thinking that or anything like that.
I've had things happen. I've had the deja vu dreams. Mm-hmm. I don't get them too often, but occasionally I'll get it, and then I'll find myself in a situation, and I'll be like, wait a minute, I've been here. I would kind of take these things with a grain of salt, and I think it was because I didn't want to be, frightened by it. Mm-hmm. I think it is it was kind of frightening, wasn't it?
Yes, it's when you're little and you're convinced that this is an experience that it is frightening. And I don't blame my nephew for shaking his head because he wanted that feeling to go away. It's something that's so foreign and it's so overwhelming. At least it certainly was for me.
Right.
Where you're just in your convictions, and Yeah, it is frightening, and it was something that faded as I got older.
As you got older, because it gets further away, and then it's more like maybe that wasn't. Maybe that was something else. I mean, you're keeping the door open, but you're just, but you get so far away from it that you're like, well, maybe it was just my imagination, or maybe it was this or that, or whatever. Never. I think a lot of people out there do not want to believe that stuff like this happens. There is a belief that even though we are here on planet Earth and we're doing our thing, a lot of people think that we are separate from spirit. Like, because people will see ghosts. There's plenty of shows where things are documented things that happen in different places. We've watched a lot of them, and some things are absolutely amazing. But there is a belief that just because we're here doesn't mean that we don't have spirit, that we don't have soul. And some people believe that you are a ghost, you are that spirit, but you just happen to inhabit a body, right? And then when you die, it's basically that soul just goes on. The body dies, but the spirit goes on, and you're still who you are, which is pretty amazing, And because nobody thinks like that. I don't think people think that we are spirits inhabiting a body.
I do.
Oh, you believe that?
Yes.
I believe that now. I believe that makes a lot of sense, but I think a lot of people out there don't believe that at all. They believe that that's residual energy. That's whatever that's happening, or they just say no. When you die, you die.
No, I wouldn't live if I didn't have spirit.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times I've nearly died? I mean, in my lifetime.
Yes,
and I've had to fight. I've had to. I mean, like just like almost in a coma. I had what Ibn Alexander had.
Right.
And they read me my last rites. They sent a priest in.
How old were you when that happened?
I had just turned 12. And we had just buried my father. So my poor mother was like, oh my God.
Yeah, what's going on? That was a test for her too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that when the priest he read me last night, and I wanted to die.
Yeah.
I was in so much pain. I was losing my mind. It was melting my brain.
Yeah, I think.
And I told him, like, get out. I think I had a very high fever.
Yeah.
I did not apparently all I remember was the excruciating pain. But, and that I thought creatures were climbing out of the walls. So that was really scary. But that we had to change rooms a couple times. Yeah. But, then, the priest came in and I was very, very feisty.
Yeah.
And he went up to the doctor. He was like, she's gonna live. It's like, wow. That's at least what was told me. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was just multiple days.
Well, you were probably out of your mind
dread.
At that point with
terrifying
fever.
Yeah, and yeah.
Do you know how high your fever was?
To the point where I could have been brain dead.
Like 106?
Like almost between 104 and 106, somewhere in there.
Yeesh.
It was bad. It was really...
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. Do you remember anything about, like, going somewhere? Like totally passing out?
I don't remember that. I just remember... This is so weird because it's the worst chocolate in my opinion. It's such horrible. When I woke up, I apparently told my mom I want an entire box of Russell Stover.
Oh my God.
When I finally was starting to get better and I could talk again,
and that's the worst chocolate.
It's not great. I don't know what that was what I had my heart set on. Russell Stover.
Well, there you go. I guess that's a big
assorted sweets.
That's a big endorsement there. Yeah. Well,
she was like, "You can have anything you want."
When did you come about? Like, did you become more spiritual like later on?
No. When I was little, I just had this tremendous feeling of God's love. Mm-hmm. And oh, absolutely.
How
it
young?
Made me very, very brave. It made me very strong, and it made me a really tough kid.
Was that ever since you were like really little that you felt that?
All my life.
Right. Wow.
All my life.
That's pretty amazing.
And I just because I knew that God loved me, I felt it in me.
Right.
And it made me very, very strong.
Right.
Very, very strong. I don't know why I was so convinced that I was like the toughest kid in the room. Yeah. And I went to a girls' school where the girls were pretty mean, you know. But I just knew God loved me and that Christ was always behind me.
Yeah.
It was very, very interesting.
Yeah. I used to go to church, and I stopped going to church when I got older. And but I've always believed in God. I've always believed that life just doesn't end here. I believe we go on. I believe our spirit goes on. And I've always believed that. But there was a point in my life where I had all these weird things happen, from premonition dreams, and my mother's had stuff happen to her. She's had visitations in her dream, which were pretty freaky. And she had she's had some stuff.
Didn't she one day say to her friend who had passed on but hadn't moved on?
Yeah.
And she kept visiting her.
Yes.
And she said, "I love you.
Right.
And I miss you, but you're scaring me."
You're scaring me, yeah.
Oh, that makes me
because she had sad. This was after she passed.
Yeah.
And then she would, and it was kind of a violent death. And it was actually an act of mercy, but it's still a violent death. And so she visited her, the neighbor across the street.
Poor thing.
In her dreams, and just kept happening. And it was always kind of the same type of dream. She'd be knocking on the door, and my mother would answer the door, and she would see her there, and she'd be like, and I don't want to say horrified, but she'd be scared, because it was very real to her that this was happening.
Yeah.
Even though it was in a dream.
And also, she's recovering from the traumatizing event.
Yeah. I mean, we all were.
Yeah.
We all were.
No,
it was
devastating.
Devastating shock. But she had that happen, and there were other things that happened over the years. So, I would hear this stuff, and then, if things kind of happened around the house, I'd be kind of leery because I'd be afraid. And my mother had this thing, like, she would look at me kind of funny, like almost like looking into my soul. And because I think she had an ability to look at somebody and know that they were not well, and they could look fine, but and that scared the living daylights out of her. She looked at somebody, and she would get this feeling, of death. And I don't know if I ever told you that.
No, you have told me that.
But she's looked at me once or twice, and I'm like, what?
Oh, no.
Kind of in the same way. No, nothing.
Mm-hmm. I had that actually happen to me one time. Yeah. There was a golf instructor at the golf club.
Right.
And he was new, and I remember I met him on the first at the first like cocktail, the Memorial Day opening of the season kind of thing.
Right.
And I was being introduced to him, and I shook his hand. And when I shook his hand, I looked at him, and I just had this overwhelming feeling like, you are not going to live very long. And he was perfectly healthy. I mean, he's out teaching children how to play golf all day, I mean, you couldn't have a happier life. You're out in summertime. It's a beautiful club, and beautiful golf course, and he was very, very sweet man.
Yeah.
Very sweet young man, and looked perfectly healthy to me.
Right.
And then maybe like 1 month into the summer, I came down for breakfast, and my mother said, "I have really sad news." And I said, "What?" And she said, well, first of all, golf is canceled for this morning.
Right.
And she told me why. He had been killed on the weekend in a car accident.
Wow.
Driving to go visit his mother.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I sat down on the stairs, and I looked, and I said, I knew it when I shook his hand.
Yeah.
I had this.
Yeah. This.
It took my breath away.
Yeah.
It's
almost like you were delving into his soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It just took my breath away.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Some of this stuff is just really amazing. When
I knew the day before my father passed away.
Yeah.
I knew.
Yeah.
It's an amazing story that I'll share some other time, but it took me the same thing. A wind hit me.
Right.
And I couldn't breathe. I looked at him, and I looked up at him, and this sense in my body said, "You're never going to see him again."
Yeah, I had something similar with my dad. And I don't know, I'm not the type to come out and say, oh, yeah, to say something is going to happen to somebody or whatever. But the year before, I would say a couple of months before my father passed away, it was before Christmas. And I want to say maybe it was August or whatever, but I said, I didn't say this to my mom. I said this to my ex-wife. And I don't know what triggered this, but I said, I think this is probably going to be the last Christmas for my dad. And I would never, ever say anything like that.
No, it's the worst thing you could.
I would never, ever say anything like. I wasn't wishing it. It was just a sense of knowing.
Yeah, you'd want to wish that feeling away.
And I would always want to wish that feeling away. But this was just almost a sense of knowing that this was going to be it. And my mother said something along the same lines, because they used to go apple picking. They used to go upstate apple picking, and when they went up, it was just the two of them. My mother said to my dad, she actually said it to my dad, she said, I think this is probably going to be the last time we do apple picking together. Mm-hmm. Maybe not saying it in a way that, that she, she knew he was going to pass away, but I think it was just a sense of knowing that this was going to be it, So we both kind of had the same type of thing going. And I don't know why I said that, because he was not in ill health, I mean, he was not in great health, but he was not in, he was on his last legs. But it wasn't until after Christmas and maybe the February after, that he started going downhill. And then by May, he was gone. So.
Well,
so
you were very blessed you had him as long as you did.
Well, thank you.
He sounds like he was
a
wonderful guy.
He was. He was my best friend.
He was your best friend.
And he still is my best friend, because he visits me every so often in form of different ways. Well, not so much telephone anymore, but that was...
So all these things are like the things that when I first met you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
When I first met you, I don't talk about these things with people unless I really, really feel comfortable.
Right.
Because from a very young age, I've had this connection or what have you with this awareness of the spirit world and even the spirit that lives in my heart,
Yeah.
And I don't talk about it with other people because I just don't trust that they're not going to trample on it. Well, and I don't want that to be trampled on, because
Right.
it's my faith.
Yeah.
And the minute I met you, I knew I could talk to you about these things. I just knew, and you
Yeah.
wouldn't, be, joke
Ridiculing.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Well, I
And it
think
was a sense of comfort that I felt.
I kind of I think I
But I
started that.
never thought I was gonna have a podcast.
No. Well, I didn't think I was going to have a podcast about this stuff, but I think what happened with me was all these different things. There was something that happened when I was living in California, and it involved it was in a townhouse, and it was a stereo receiver, and it was a compact disc player, and it had a compact disc in there, CD, and but the unit was turned off. Both units were turned off, and I retired to bed. And about maybe 10 minutes, I had not fallen asleep yet. Place was pitch black, and all of a sudden, really loud, the CD kicked in, and
And you wouldn't have been playing it that loud, so the
I wouldn't have been
volume wouldn't have been at
I wouldn't
that.
have been playing it that loud for that because there was a townhome and you had other
Yeah,
town.
you
So
have
I never.
neighbors. You can't put it all the way up to 11.
Yeah, if there was 11, but the interesting thing is that everything was off, and the amplifier did not have a remote control because I tried to reason this one out, and the CD player did have a remote control, but the amplifier did not, and they both turned on at the same time. Two, and not just one power button, two,
And the volume
and the volume.
manipulation.
Yeah, and so I had to go downstairs, super loud, and I turned off the unit. I actually
Write notes to put to all of your neighbors and put them under their door.
yeah, I unplugged it. Yeah, it was late. It was late. It was like probably close to 12 o'clock,
Yeah.
12 midnight. So, but there were a lot of things that happened that there was one thing where I couldn't jumpstart my career in animation. It just seemed like everything was not going the way I wanted it to go. And then finally, it was just everything started opening up. And everything opened up all at once. It was basically one thing led to another, to another, to another. And it was just like all these, it was almost like a bunch of puzzle pieces all of a sudden fit into place. And all of a sudden I was working in the industry. But there was a lot of different things that had to happen. And I was always amazed by the way things kind of worked, because that was not something that I could never figure that out, how that happened. It was almost like there was something or somebody.
Cosmic catalyst.
Yeah. And I think that got me to thinking a lot more about the spiritual world, and there's something
Angels,
more.
people looking out for you.
Yeah, that, and I had a reading when I was in art school, and I was maybe, I want to say 22 at that point. I was still taking classes, and I was just like, I didn't seem to be making any progress with trying to land a job, and in that world. And it's very tough. You have to be talented, and you also have to be at the right place at the right time.
It is tough.
Yeah, but anyway, I was sitting and I was waiting for a class, and this woman sat down next to me, and she was an older woman, and I've told this story before, but the short of it is, she, on that bench, she started up a conversation. She ended up reading me, and she correctly said where I was living and what I wanted to do. I mean, I was in an art school, so I'm sure she knew that I wanted to do an art career, but she didn't know that I wanted to move out west and work in the animation field. And she correctly said all the stuff that was going to happen. and then as soon as she did the reading, there were some pleasantries, and then all of a sudden she disappeared. I never saw her again, but it was a shot in the arm that I needed to kind of keep going, And so I guess the point here is there were so many things that were leading up to an acceptance of there's something more, something much more out there than I thought of before. Like I said, I believed in God, but there were miraculous things that were happening. And after my father passed away, it was basically, there was even more miraculous things. There was, after death communication, and seeing numbers all the time that represented my dad, and all these different things kind of led up to me thinking I should write a book about all this stuff. And so many of these wonderful things. And so I thought about it for a long time. I didn't go about doing it. I kept questioning, should I do this, and questioning whether, this is something that God would want me to do, to write a book about this, because I kept thinking, well, I'm going to, if it becomes successful, I'm going to profit off of this, and I don't know if I should be profiting off of this or whatever, and I mean, all these stupid...
way up in your head.
All these stupid things stopping me from doing it.
Yeah.
And then I met you, and we started talking about this stuff, and I think I actually brought up some things to you, and you were open to it. And we started talking about it freely, and it was great that I could talk to you about it. And
I think it was great.
Yeah.
It still is great.
It's still great.
Because we're doing a show.
Yeah.
Which I never thought I would do.
Do you remember how that came up to be?
Well, because you have your own podcast and you sound so amazing on it. The Cartoonerific podcast, by the way.
Thank you.
And you just sound excellent. And I was so impressed by that show. Even though it's purely about animation. So there's a lot of it that I don't, fully understand. And then you said, hey, would you like to try doing a podcast about your belief in the paranormal and spirit and UFOs and Bigfoot? And I said, no way.
No way.
No way.
Right.
I cut out for that. And then you said, how about we just do like X number of episodes? Okay.
Yeah, I think it was 6. 6 was the magic number.
See how, just if you can get your sea legs, as Tony DiStefano says.
I have to say one thing. You did do the Cartoonerific podcast. And you were doing the news on there, which is still, people are still looking at that or listening to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and but we did a couple of episodes together.
Well, that was fun because you were teaching me about all these animated things that I had never seen.
Yeah.
I never had seen like these movies and Snow White and Bambi.
Yeah. Well, you were so good. You were so good on that, and people,
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, got back some really good feedback.
Thank you.
But I started writing this book, about maybe a year and a half ago now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Started writing, recording all the information. As I figured I would have, at least 10 chapters. It's now maybe 13 and maybe 14 total.
Mm-hmm.
But I started recording all this stuff, and basically I was like, it'd be a great idea if we do this podcast together. And you were like, you weren't too sure, and I said, well, we'll do 6. We'll do 6 episodes. We'll see how it goes, and see how you feel. And if you want to continue on, we'll continue on. And so we did the 6. And we had a lot of fun doing it, right? Mm-hmm. I hope you had a lot of fun doing it.
I always have fun doing
You enjoy
these shows
doing these shows.
I do. Yeah. I just never thought I would be talking about these things because I've only ever felt comfortable talking about it with you.
Right.
You know, and I you know, quite frankly, tired of the ridicule that I get, particularly from my beloved family, whom I love and adore, and who are so important to me. And when they ridicule me about things, it hurts, you know?
Right.
And so I kind of just shut that.
You shut that door.
I shut that door there.
But now you opened it wide open.
I did. I
Yeah.
came kicking through.
You did. So anyway, that's
it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much more, you know, and there's so many things that I want to learn about and explore. Like, I would love to get Heidi Steffens back just to talk about elementals.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm dying to get her. Oh, not dying, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I would love to do that.
Love to do that. Yeah.
And there's just so many. We've had so many wonderful guests whom I just absolutely think are most excellent human beings. I was so thrilled to get Jennifer Ann and Diane Calderon, and I mean, just I've been so happy doing
Joe
this show.
Giaquinto.
And I just love
yeah,
chatting with you,
I
Mister.
I love chatting with
Mr. Mitchell.
Ah, Miss Marjorie. Anyway, no, we have a good time doing these things. But anyway, that's kind of how we got it all put together, and we're looking toward getting some other special guests on the show.
We're looking into other guests. I have a topic coming up very soon that I really find very interesting.
Oh, and what is that?
It is, were we planted here?
Ooh, that's something that my father
Ascribed to?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So that's interesting in bringing that up.
I'm very excited to talk about
Yeah,
that with you. I'd love to hear about what your father's thoughts on that were.
Yeah.
And and yeah, I just sorry again, folks, about the delay, but thank you, for listening, and we look forward to doing more. I know I love doing this show with you.
Oh, yes, I love doing a show with you. If you have any comments, we have a Facebook page. It's Back to Paranormal.
Send us your comments.
Yes,
send us your thoughts, questions, anything.
Yeah.
Please. We'll love to be in touch with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chat feature, I guess, YouTube and also some of these other services. You can actually send a question or chat with us. If you have something that's happened to you that you want to relay, we'd love to hear it.
Maybe we'd love to hear stories.
Yeah, maybe we'll mention it on the show, so that'd be kind of cool, right? I think it's cool.
I think it's way cool.
Yeah, I know. Oh, you're beautiful. You're always beautiful.
Thank you, darling.
Anyway,
thank you.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. Any last thoughts? Any final thoughts?
No.
No, I don't have any either. Hey, I got to throw it out there.
Out of thoughts.
That's it. All right. So anyway, we hope to
just straw up here.
No straw. Lots of good stuff up there. Anyway, it's been wonderful. I love you.
I love you.
You're my baby. Anyway, okay. So please come back next week for another episode of
Back to Paranormal.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
And God bless.